following podcast may contain some adult language. You've been warned.
Those of you who got an invite, welcome to Nerd Prom.
No matter where in the world you are, we're all Nerds International. With the hyphen.
Welcome to Finding the Narrative, a Genesys RPG Podcast. This is a show dedicated to the Genesys role-playing system from Fantasy Flight Games, a show in which we, your hosts, discuss all things Genesys from both a player's and a GM's perspective. I am Tony Fanning, and with me, as always, is my good friend and co-host and soon-to-be roommate for a weekend, Chris Holmes. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, and what goes on a con and a cob stays a con and a cob. So, no, I'm pretty sure my wife just heard me. She's on the other side of the wall here. But anyways,
she's gonna have questions. She's gonna have questions.
She might. No, dude, I'm pumped. It's this week. Con and a cob is this week.
These days can't go fast enough. I'm serious. I am in such dire need for a vacation right now.
I'm thinking it's 60 hours away until I touch down in Cleveland.
58, 59.
Tick-tock, right? It's at that point. And of course, my, I shouldn't say of course, because they lost last weekend, but my Vikings won today.
Yeah.
Beat your Lions, man.
Yeah. The loins are not that good this year.
Dude, 10 sacks? Holy crap. That was harsh. I was feeling Stafford's pain there. But on a gaming related note, my barbarian, my 16th level barbarian in that wonderful 5th edition D&D game. Yes, I said D&D, everybody. My buddy Kyle is running an old school high level game in the Caves of Chaos. Frickin' Medusa Queen, petrified Hrothgar. Yes, I was turned to stone by a Medusa Queen. It was great. Wonderful.
I love how you celebrate your character's misfortune. That's awesome.
And then, and then the cleric applied a cream. And then everything was fine after that.
There's a cream for that.
Exactly.
That's right.
There is a cream for that. But, so that was good. Any gaming thing that you did that stood out? Like any characters dying or turning to stone either?
All my games have been canceled for the last week and a half. I've had a very, very harrowing experience recently with my fiance.
You have had it's been a rough week. I understand.
Yeah, we spent all of last weekend with her in the hospital, and so
she doing good.
Better? Yeah, she's doing better. She's home. Things are good. It's just a lifestyle change. She's going to be on blood thinners for her life, and it's just we're going to have to get used to it. I'm going to buy her a really nice, pretty medical bracelet that says she, has that problem. I've already been up to the jewelry store talking to them, so they're going to make a real nice one for her.
Oh, cool.
But I haven't had any games in a week and a half.
Oh, that's a shame. But you know what?
You're gonna at the bit.
Yeah. You're gonna more than make up for it this coming week, dude.
Yeah.
3 full days, 3.5 maybe full days of gaming. Most definitely.
I'm scheduled for 12 separate events.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my.
No, just kidding.
I might be near that. I think I'm
at 8 or 9.
Or 5. Oh wow.
Including the ones I'm running, which now I'm running Deep Madness. That got added last minute.
Yeah, and I'm running Lord of the Rings with you.
Yes.
Middle Earth with you, but then I'm doing Legend of the Five Rings on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Apparently. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate that one.
You're welcome.
It's dude, that's like awfully Minnesotan passive aggressive of you though, dude.
Well,
run this game. Oh, by the way, sign up.
I know this really good GM for this game. I signed him up.
Perfect. So let's see. So let's get into some news here.
Yes, news.
Yeah. Android adversary cards, and do these things look beautiful? Oh crap!
I didn't realize. I was looking through them. Some of the nemesis are named characters, named dudes. This is the first time they've done adversary cards for named dudes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Rania Roja and Jackson Howard, man.
Yeah, these are characters from some of the novels, which I didn't realize. I'm like, who? I started looking up these characters. Where do they come from? Do they come from the card game? Do they come? No, there's novels out there for this, and I didn't even know it.
More reading, everybody.
Yeah,
more reading to do. The Worlds of Android.
They're in my Amazon list. They're in my Amazon Christmas wish list for anybody who wishes to look at my Christmas wish. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go. Yeah, so they're available for pre-order. Really no date as to when, which actually, this is I actually kind of like this because they didn't announce the Terrinoth cards until well after the book dropped.
Right. It does seem like things are kind of maybe moving a little faster with the Android.
Let's hope.
So.
Let's hope. I doubt we're going to get a Christmas stocking. I don't think it's going to be my Christmas stocking. But I might have to buy my wife a birthday present in February with it. Oh, sorry, honey. That's supposed to be mine. No, just kidding. So everybody go out there on the Genesis website out there and take a look at these. Looking good, man. Looking good.
Yeah. Awesome.
And a teacup giraffe. Aw, how cute is that?
Isn't that the cutest thing ever?
3 presents. Minions. So there's more teacup giraffes out there.
Yeah. You can have an army of them.
Jim, you bastard, I know you're listening to this.
Do not give me my character, Jim. No, he's a GM. You got to tell him not to give you something, and he'll give it to you, right?
Exactly.
So you tell him, don't give my character several teacup giraffes and a sled to haul him with. So I can have just teacup giraffes hauling me on a sled.
I could totally see Gorgle having like all these teacup giraffes like following him like some sort of Pied Piper dude.
No. The Tony Android.
Oh, the Tony Android. Well, there's that. But
oh shit.
Awesome.
Anyhow.
Okay. Anyways, we're digressing, dude. We're digressing a little bit. Sorry, everybody.
We're excited. It's okay.
Yeah.
So we have, I picked one piece of listener feedback because this one piece of listener feedback, this listener has kept telling me he had a question for me on the G+. He's like, I got a question. I just got to type it up. I got a question. I got to type it up. And
he did. He typed it up.
And he did.
Way to go.
He typed
Cody.
it up. Took him a while. So Cody Doolittle out there says, Tony and Chris, hey guys, keep up the good work.
Thank you, bud.
Yep. Let me preface this with everything but this one thing makes Genesis absolutely amazing. And I think he forgot the to me part. But anyhow, my question is, with the limitations on by-the-book character creation rules, don't you find the character generation a bit limited compared to that of Star Wars? What I mean is, with Genesis, like D&D, you pick your race, you pick your class, and sure, in D&D, you can multi-class but with Genesis, you can't buy out of career skills.
You can buy out of career skills, yeah.
You can buy out of career skills, but with Star Wars, you can fine-tune a character that you want. For example, the character I play in Star Wars is a commander, tactician, vanguard strategist. With D&D, I could play an elf ranger. In Genesis, I could play an elf scout. I know that right now there aren't that many books out for Genesis, but just that aspect of character creation bothers me. If I want to bring my tactician, vanguard strategist over to Genesis, I'm stuck with already stuck on archetype, and he goes into a bunch of details about it, how he would do it, and then he says, but now, what did Genesis get right? Basically what he says, he loves pretty much everything else. Not one specific setting. Depending on the setting, you give alternate skills to use, open talent trees, magic system. There's probably more things that I love and I haven't encountered yet. Anyways, what do you guys think? Cody, Tally Darkstar, which is the name of his Star Wars character, Doolittle. So I had first a bunch of back and forth with Cody, explaining, how I felt about how the talent trees, really buying these talent trees, you spend a bunch of extra XP in Star Wars to buy an out of career talent tree or another talent tree. You spend, if it's your second talent tree, it costs you 20 plus 10 if it's out of career. So, and then if it's your third one, you're paying 30 plus 10 if it's out of career, so on and so forth. So for
so folks out there, don't want to interrupt you real quick, but folks out there, if you're not quite understanding the concept of the talent trees for Star Wars, you can find them on the internet out there and just kind of take a look. So it's not the pyramid like Genesys. Yep. It's actually different, 5. It's like a grid of, what is it, 4 by 5, right?
4 by 5.
4 by 5. And they're linked by lines, so you can't exactly go like straight down on some you can, but some you have to wrap around and whatever. So those get really interesting, and then that's effectively what do they call it? It's specialization.
Yeah. Right. And that's what they are. They're specializations. And so in Star Wars, you have these specialization trees, and they're your talent tree. And you also have, for each specialization, you have 4 skills that it gives you. 4 more
skills, yeah.
4 that become career skills.
Yeah.
Now, the difference between a career skill and a non-career skill in Star Wars is the same.
Yeah.
As it is in Genesys.
Yeah, it costs more.
It just costs more for a non-career skill. Right. 5 more XP per rank. That's it. So going back and forth with him, and I think first of all, he's never played Genesys yet. He's trying to get his group to do so, and he's trying to get them into Terrinoth. And I think his trepidation is that really it isn't about the talent trees. It's more about the career skills. That he feels his character is defined by what are their career skills. This list is my career skill list. That's what defines my character. And I would say that you have to kind of look outside the box a little bit. And one of the things I didn't say to him in my messages back and forth is that you have to look at the big picture. What you're trying to do with your character is you're trying to make a big picture of the character. You do that with the talents. You do that with the special abilities. You do that with the skills that you buy. And so what if they're not career skills? If you have 3 ranks in something, you're still just as good at it as the guy who's got it as a career skill.
Right.
That has 3 ranks in it. Yes, you spent 15 more XP to get those 3 ranks in it. But you didn't have to spend 20 points to buy a tree just to get 4 skills.
And flavor-wise and narrative-wise, it may have only taken your character having those as career skills, say, in like an Age of Rebellion game, maybe it's like a primary mission operational specialty or whatever, right? Or it only took them boot camp or maybe a year to get up to that point, whereas in the real world or whatever outside of that, he may have spent a couple years trying to getting that skill up to there. But at some point, you're going to be as good. Just took you a little longer, narrative-wise.
Right.
Flavor-wise, those kinds of things. And
so
all that stuff is part of your character, too, building your character. Because I may have an idea of what this character may look like at character creation and kind of play it out. Maybe like, oh, yeah, I could see maybe Killzak being a stealthy, survivalist kind of person. And then as I'm playing him, I may have to have had to jump on a horse. I may want him to be part of that guard. What is that called in Terrinoth, where they can ride special creatures at some point? So it could come off a different way. Like if I would put a rank in a skill if I used it in the session before. That's just me, but that's kind of character growth, and that.
Right. It's the idea of having a path beforehand or having ergonomic growth with your character. I do more of I have a specific plan I want with my character, and then from there I ergonomically grow him based on the campaign and the players and the other characters around him.
Ergonomically, so you don't get like carpal tunnel, or organically.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, dude. I don't mean to point that out, but
no, dude, you're all right.
I did.
Words are hard today. Thank you. No, dude.
No.
At least you kept me from saying it a fourth or fifth time. So, yes, organically grow the character.
That might be the word. I'm thinking that's the word I'm thinking of, right? Yeah.
No, that's, naturally. Yes, organically. Yes. Okay. Let them just kind of flow with the campaign and the characters around them. Yep. But anyhow, back to Cody's problem here, and I think his big concern is that, Genesys isn't exactly the way Star Wars was with the careers. Right. And what I would like to say to Cody, and what I said to him, is give it a try as is. Yeah. But if it still doesn't work for you, create specializations.
Yeah, and think that, and keep in mind that Genesys the Genesys core book is a toolbox.
That's exactly what
Age of Rebellion, at Empire, at Edge of the Empire, all of those books are set rules, set mechanics, right? So no reason why your leader career, as presented in the core rulebook, can't have knowledge warfare in replace of coercion. Yep. Or swap out a couple skills and ask your GM about that. And I think any reasonable GM would say, sure, why not?
Right. Custom careers. Mm-hmm. That's one way of doing it. Another way is talents. They're tier 1 talents that give you 2 skills as long as they're not magic or combat skills. It's tier 1 if they're a magic or a combat skill. It should be a tier 2. Yep. But any of those... you want to, give. There's examples out there in the Star Wars books of talents that allow you to just pick any 2 skills, and now they're career skills. Mm-hmm. You could just have that talent in your game. Just say, hey, GM, I want this talent in the game. And now you can custom build your character right from character creation. Buy that twice. You now have the 4 freaking skills that you wanted for 10 XP. Ta-da! You got the 4 extra ones that you wanted, as if you had taken a second career. They're all career skills for you, and... Mm-hmm. The idea of cross-classing in Genesys is not really an idea. And I think that's where the Star Wars specialization thing and the D&D reference comes up with the dual classing. It's not a thing in Genesys. You are defined by what your original career is only because that's what you were, Ooh, I'm a scout. Yay, but you can say you don't even have to call it scout. You can call it ranger.
Exactly. Call it ranger.
Yeah. You just have all the same career skills as the scout.
Call it fighting man.
Yeah.
Make an elf your class and your race.
Yeah. Or that's you can have, instead of a warrior, instead of a warrior, you have Mr. Punchy Man.
Yeah.
Anyhow, not to be condescending, but I think he has a genuine problem here, because we discussed it with him at length. You did too, and I did too, and he still at the end he was still like, I'm not 100% on this.
Yeah, and so, you know what, Cody, the game, I believe what Genesys does do really well to add to your list is the fact that it is a toolbox, and you can make it what you want it to be.
Yep. Yes, that was
really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I that's what I think, and it's one of those things where if you're the GM or somebody else is GMing your group, and having that session 0 and talking about these things is very important, and you're all in it together. You're all spending time out of your day to go have fun. Why do you have it fun? If one of my players says, and I've asked this of them, like I was running like a Starfighter game, and the guy wanted to create a droid, and then the question came up, well, do I use mechanics or do I use medicine? And I looked at the guy and I'm like, I don't know. What would be fun for you? What do you think? He's like, I don't know. So I picked, mechanics, because that's kind of how they did it in Star Wars. You know what I mean? So that's what I always ask. Well, what would be fun? What would be more fun? So, anyways.
Yep. Stick with the rule of cool.
Yes, and just have fun, everybody.
All right, so I'm sure, Cody, you're out there listening. We did get to you, and hey, feel free to keep hitting us up. We love to talk to our listeners.
Appreciate that, bud.
So we have another section of the show to get to here.
Yeah, we sure do.
Okay, this is 50 Pieces of Awesome. This is where my good friend Chris here goes out in the interweb, searches with his magnifying glass and his spectacles, and he goes out and he finds something cool. And boy, did you find something cool this week.
Didn't I, though? I think this...
I gave it a good read, because I was like, this is intriguing. Ooh!
Yes. Let me just say that, yes, this is out on the Fantasy Flight forums in the Your Settings section. It is called Salvage, a Junk Punk Alien Setting by Jared Matthew 7. Now, what makes this cool, Tony? What makes this cool is it is Dark Sun in space, man. It is gritty sci-fi style. This is cool.
Dude. It
is really sweet.
It is Mutant Year Zero in space. It is really, yes, it is so cool.
Hey, Matthew, or Jared, I keep calling, sorry if I call you Matthew, that's your last name, but Gerard Matthew. Dude, this looks good. This is professional looking stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty.
And yeah, it is it's nice. It has everything in here that I want from something like this, where you have a setup to the setting is really cool. I don't want to ruin anything. He's got a little bit of a timeline here, which is awesome. He does go into some Genesis rules specific references, which is pretty sweet. And of course, dude, he brought in new rules. He brought in, yes, everybody, he brought psionics back.
Very cool.
I mean, JT brought sexy back. You know, Jared here brought psionics back, and that's what makes it Dark Sun to me. Right? Nice. I mean, Dark Sun it's some psionics and such. Yeah, the look and feel is great. He's got 4 archetypes, actual deckers, SOs, and I love this gnome archetype. Yes, it's spelled Nomes, and it's named that because of the generations of genetic tinkering. How clever is that, man?
Well, you know, that's genome.
Genome. But I think he mixed genome and tinkering gnomes, and loving the reference, dude. Pretty sweet. And
there's good stuff.
So he split this into like salvage careers, because this is all about salvaging and just, I mean, it's Dark Sun meets Mad Max Beyond Thunder Road, you know, in space, right? And he's got like 10 careers, 6 psionic careers. Okay, one thing I
love the archetype options. Those were so cool.
That's what go ahead, go into those. Yeah,
he put in these archetype options where you can buy options for your archetypes for 0 to 10 XP. Yeah. Just cool stuff.
So here's an example of one. There's a decker. Okay, so basically deck themselves into tech mods, or they're going to be your computer hackers, your tech hackers and such. Well, you know what? For 0 XP, you can get a dark vision ocular implant.
Nice.
You remove a setback die. You can get, for 10 XP, cybernetic ports.
Now, you can only get one of these, right?
You can get, I don't know the rules for that. I didn't see any. I think you're just limited by the number of experience points you want to spend on them. You can get them all if you want. But it's going to cost you 20 XP to get claws, strong-armed, and the cybernetic ports. Yeah. That's XP you could spend on skills or talents. Yeah. Right, Cody?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you could. But yeah, dude, that's a good thing. That's a neat little rule that you could put in really any setting that way.
Yeah.
Well done, sir. Well done. The psionic. Okay, so the way psionics works, pretty slick, and I like how he basically keeps it like the core rulebook for Magic. So there's 6 psionic skills i.e. magic skills, right? And he's got a table for difficulty to do each one of those. But you can only pick up a psionic skill if you've picked a ranked talent called Psychic Discovery. So at tier 1, you can get it. So you can have up to 5 of these psionic... Well, maybe more than that. Maybe it's not really capped, right?
No, it's probably not.
I wouldn't think it is. You can eventually get all psionic skills and whatever, but that's such a neat flavor. Like, if I'm out there in this sci-fi setting, and I would probably pick up this talent to just unlock a psionic skill if maybe I get hit with some radiation.
You know what this reminds me of?
What's that?
Borderlands.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The video game, Borderlands?
Yes, Borderlands, the video games, because you got your psychic characters, and you've got cybernetics, and maybe it's on a backwater waste world, and there's all kinds of salvage. Speaking of salvage, what about the salvage rules that this is named for? The salvaging rules, those are pretty cool. What page was that on, Tony? I didn't have a note on that, what page it was. But yeah, there's salvaging. Okay. Yeah, there's salvaging rules. You have different types of salvage. Yeah.
Like minor scrap, superior scrap, inferior scrap. Oh, one thing that was cool. One of these things he had in here, lash weapons. Page 33. This is a neat concept. Let me read the description of these for you guys real quick. And this is just, I'm just giving an idea of what this guy has put in here because this is pretty awesome. Okay, so lash weapons having the lash type. By lashing together multiple weapon parts and muzzles, this odd new weapon type can do some serious damage, but is extraordinarily inaccurate and fragile. Fragile. On an enemy attack made with this weapon, 2 threat or a despair may be used by the GM to have a piece of the weapon fall off, reducing its damage by 2.
Wow.
An average mechanics check can be used to restore the weapon to full power as long as the part was retrieved. Or something similar. But is that not the coolest thing?
Oh, that is very cool.
I mean, I'm thinking of maybe having something like that on like my Space Goblins in like Starfinder. Because they kind of kit bash stuff together, and if they roll 1s or something, I'll be like, oh yeah, pieces of their weapon are falling off, and won't give them as much damage. You could do something like that, and this is so cool. And of course, there's cybernetics, and last but not least, he created a 2-page character sheet.
Very nice.
For you there, Tony.
Very nice. I like that.
So yeah, I mean, there are much more things in here. I mean, we're talking. There's 38 pieces. There's 38 pages of awesome in this. There really is.
Okay.
12 more pages, man. You'd have 50 pages of awesome. Oh, you see what I did there?
I see what you did there. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, so Mr. Jared Matthew 7, Chris and I would like to award you 50 pieces of awesome. Great work.
Yeah, great work, bud.
Okay, so we've got a relatively large show going here, but we've got another section, and I tentatively named this episode Heroic Heroes of Heroism, because we're going to go over heroic abilities.
Yes, we are.
So shall we do that?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
All right.
All right, everybody. Yes, time to open your books of Genesis. More specifically, Realms of Terrinoth, page 74. To your heroic abilities page. We're going to talk about heroic abilities. We're going to talk about how to create them, and we're going to build how we built a couple of our characters today, and then maybe potential uses in other settings. This is a great concept. It really is, and you could probably just use it as is, to be honest. But we'll talk about that. So Tony, what's a heroic ability, man?
Well, heroic abilities are each player, they only get one, and they get it at character creation.
Yep.
Using a heroic ability works the same for everyone. Your heroic ability is, and they're all pretty powerful, but by default, activating a heroic ability requires you to spend 2 story points. The effects of the heroic ability last until the end of your character's next turn, and you can only activate it once per session. So, however, with every 50 XP your character gains, you get new things that you can add to your heroic ability. So, when you create a heroic ability for your character, you've got 3 steps. First step, you got to choose which one you want. Now, the primary effect, there's a whole bunch of them listed in here, but it says right in here that you can make up your own.
Right.
If you and your GM work together.
Yeah. These cover a lot. These cover a lot of abilities.
A lot of the bases. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I think the only things they really don't cover is like if you had like a character that you wanted that was a vehicle specialist, like you were a captain of an airship or something, and you wanted to be like a vehicle specialist. There's something you could probably tweak with the GM to come up with.
Probably could. The heroic ability I was thinking for my character could potentially be used in that regard.
Yes, it could.
Well.
So after that first step, you determine what you want its ability to be, the normal effect. Then you determine its origin. That's just story. You come up with the story of how it came with. You can choose one, or you can roll one randomly.
Like was your character bitten by a radioactive spider? Probably not.
Yeah.
But that would be cool if he was.
It could have been bitten by a rune spider.
A rune spider, that's true. Oh, if Killzak would have been bitten by a rune spider. But he got that axe.
Right.
Which, yes,
and then
having a signature weapon is a heroic ability. Which
right.
We'll go into. And then you got the third thing is you have to name it, which is always good.
Yeah, and coming up with a cool, unique name for it is like very, very. It's fun. I've seen some interesting ones on characters. I think. Remember? Okay, Sean, my son, he made that orc bard.
Okay.
And he came from a desert, so everything from all of his signature songs that he does, all of his signature spells, all of his heroic ability, it's all desert themed stuff, like Song of the Oasis and the
cool.
Blast of Desert Wind and things. He's got all these different names for it, and it's very cool the way you can do that with the heroic ability. Sorry.
Yep.
So they list here between pages 74 and 80 in the Book of Terrinoth, Realms of Terrinoth. There's a bunch of them listed.
Yeah.
So do you want to go over the different ones just a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, let's hit on them. So the first one here is called All the Facts. Your character has a knack for knowing vital information when it's needed. So basically when you activate your heroic ability, which is an incidental, by the way, to do that, after spending the 2 story points, like we said, by default, while the ability is active, during each of their turns, your character learns an important fact about the situation, person, place, whatever that's happening in that situation. And it must be either observable, the information must be observable, or directly relevant to the situation. So that's very vague, and that's going to come up with. Then there's going to be some, maybe negotiating with your GM on this one, but that's pretty sweet. This leaves a lot out there for a narrative, a sweet narrative and story.
It is cool.
Yeah,
and so what we didn't talk about already, but each one of these has a base power that they do.
Yes,
and then they have 2 other levels. They have an improved version.
Yep.
And then they have a supreme version.
Right. And we'll talk about how to get those when we talk about leveling up your heroic abilities when you improving, not leveling up. That's a term used for a D7D kind of game. So what's another one, dude?
All right. So the next one we have is Connected. Which I love this one. Your character seems to know everyone, or at least everyone who's worth knowing. Many people who are highly placed or just plain powerful owe you favors. I love it. The base is when your character activates this ability, choose one NPC and reveal that they owe the character a favor.
You know, I must tell you, my mother-in-law has this heroic ability. I swear to God, man. We were 2 hours away from here, dropping my daughters off at summer camp, coming back at a restaurant, and a couple ladies come into the restaurant and go, "Jan, how you doing?" And it's like, what? How do you know these people? Everywhere she goes, she knows somebody. Anyways, keep going.
No, it's all right. So you work with your GM. That's a common theme with these. You work with your GM to establish relevant details of the existing relationship between your character and the NPC. In some cases, the GM might determine that there is just no way you could know this NPC. Like, I don't know, it was a demon that was just born. But anyhow, in which case your heroic ability just doesn't activate. It's at the GM's discretion. And you don't end up spending the story points. The NPC won't risk their life or kill anyone as a favor. They also won't do something that's obviously going to ruin their social standing, their finances, so on and so forth. However, your character might be able to convince them that there's no such risk. Yeah. Very, very cool one for a face character.
Yeah, very much so. And there is a sidebar here that I want to note on this page. What page are we on? 75. Called Heroic Abilities in the Narrative. This is an interesting concept where heroic abilities, you can only activate them for a small amount of time. Oh, and by the way, they can only be activated once per session. Which seems like 2 rounds, once per session, not a whole lot of time. And you need the story points involved. But this is interesting where you can have small narrative effects, not only when it's activated. Mm-hmm. So I would think a character with the connected heroic ability, dude. When this dude comes into the bar, they'll be like, Norm, right? I mean, everybody knows this guy or girl, right. I should say. You know, coming in and free drinks, whatever.
Right.
First round.
Well, that's like what I did with Gorgo. It went right into his backstory and it described the way he looked and so on and so forth.
That is perfect. That's a perfect example of this. Okay, yes. Anyways, didn't mean to digress, but there is a sidebar here to talk about that. That's cool.
All right, what else?
We have foretelling. Your character possesses mystical means of predicting the future events or the lives of their life in pursuit of an ancient prophecy, which they might or might not even be the subject, which is cool. So the base power is each round that it remains active, you can ask the GM one yes or no question about the knowledge your character doesn't have. And it doesn't have any mundane or logical reason to possess. How do you answer? Which the GM must answer truthfully. Oh, this is great.
Is that dragon allergic to peanuts?
Exactly. I mean, come on. I mean, this could actually be a great one to kind of fuck with your players with.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you could give them that simple yes or no question. It's a yes or no answer. This is pretty cool. The character gains information through whatever esoteric means appropriate. Oh, man. You could go nuts on this.
Yeah.
Acting on this information is another matter of entirely. You can start freaking your player characters out, though, too.
Oh, yeah.
You can, especially, like, if they have... Oh, my gosh. If you're running like a horror kind of game, and yes, I have to horror, not a horror, not a whoring game, right? A horror game, right? Dude, you can kind of put some weird little premonition things in their dreams or something, right?
Right.
When the ability isn't even active, you say, "Sorry, you got this ability. Well done."
Yeah, you woke up with an uneasy feeling this morning.
Yeah, you did. And Gorgo would put cream on it. But we already know that, right?
Do we have cream for that?
Always.
All right. Speaking of Gorgo, next we have Hard to Kill.
Oh, yeah,
when your character steals their resolve and tightens their grip on their weapon or staff, you can shrug off the worst enemy throws at you.
Sorry.
In the moments of dire... What? Gripping my staff?
Yeah, Gorgo gripping his staff. He's got an itch.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, everybody.
In the moments of dire import, they face down overwhelming opposition and don't take a scratch.
That's wunderbar.
Yeah. So hard to kill. With this, while this ability is active, your character gains +4 soak. Simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's not so simple when you narrate it. And I'll get into that. So, anyhow, what's next?
Let me see. What is next? Influential is next. Your character is an unparalleled orator. We aren't. Impossibly charming, or even possessed of a supernatural ability to influence others. I'm picturing a bugbear with a 25 charisma, right?
Sure. You can draw dicks on cops. Yep, got it.
Whether through lying, impassioned speeches, moving poetry, recitations, or any number of methods, your character gets people to do what they want. This is great. This is a good one. This could be a nice agitator type of heroic ability, right? Base. While this ability is active, when your character uses a social skill to inflict strain during social encounters, they inflict additional strain equal to the characteristic linked to that skill. Oh, wow. I don't know if I've ever read this one before. If the social encounter is resolved with a single skill check, your character instead adds a number of successes equal to their characteristic linked to the skill. Dude, that's pretty huge.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And there are improved versions of these, too.
Right.
So
there's an improved and a supreme version of every one of these. We're just giving you the base ones, folks.
Yeah. As badass as these base ones are, you can only imagine what the improved ones are. Sweet.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good one. Next.
So, miraculous recovery. Your character's injuries often turn out to be not as bad as they look. Oh, look, it was just a scratch. Frodo.
Yeah, exactly.
When your character activates this ability at the beginning of their turn, and each round while it remains active, your character heals 3 wounds.
Wow!
Just instantly heal.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there is a way to extend your heroic ability, which we'll explain how to too. That would be nice here.
Yeah.
That's
what's
sweet.
next?
Well, actually, I have a question about this one. And I'm asking about the Supreme version. When you activate this ability, your character heals 1 critical injury they are suffering.
Yeah, that's bad. That's
technically, you cannot activate a heroic ability out of turn, correct? It's an incidental you do on your turn, right?
Right.
So let me ask you a question. So say a dragon-slaying dwarf had this ability. Well, he doesn't have this ability, but let's just say Gorgo has this ability, right? He activates it on this first round, right? And he has the supreme version of this, which, by the way, it says when you activate this ability, your character heals 1 critical injury they are suffering. Now, that's when you activate it, you heal a critical injury. If you're not suffering any critical injuries on that turn, well, I guess you wouldn't be able to. I don't know. My question is, could you heal?
You wouldn't activate it until you already have one.
So you wouldn't be able to heal death as a critical injury because you'd be dead.
You would not be able to heal 150 plus.
You wouldn't. How about the one right below it? You could though, right?
Where you die at the end of the round or encounter. Yeah, totally.
You activate it, boom, you remove it. That's kind of a death save there.
Yep.
Okay. So that was a confusing one a little bit for me, but reading all the words and thinking through it, yeah. Anyway.
Not a problem.
Okay.
What's next?
So the next one is Paragon, and this one was actually the one I was thinking about for my character. When it comes to a particular skill, your character is simply the best. Oh gosh, I have songs going through my head right now. Whether their abilities really are supernatural, your character always achieves the check they want when it really counts. More importantly, even when things go disastrously wrong, they never do. So, when you select the base power of this, when you activate it, when you select this primary ability effect, choose 1 skill. When this ability is active, after rolling the dice for a check using that skill, but before resolving the results, you may remove a difficulty die of your choice from the pool. Basically, ignoring the symbol shown on a die. That's huge.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's huge. And of course, this gets even better, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh yeah.
The improved and supreme version of this.
Yep.
So those are cool. So yeah, you roll it. Oh, it shows two failures on the die, and you missed by one. Oh, let me just remove that die. Now I've succeeded.
Pretty much.
Paragon. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Very nice. All right, Sixth Sense. Your character possesses a rare and maybe even unique capacity to perceive that which goes on beyond the five senses. Limit most mortals. Here's your tremor sense. You give your character tremor sense. Ta-da!
Yep.
When you choose this... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, who was going to say it first? You know what I'm thinking. You know what I'm thinking, right?
Yeah, you want to see dead people?
You said it first.
When you choose this heroic ability, you and the GM decide what type of entity your character's extrasensory perception applies to. Do you want to see dead animals, or just such as animals, the dead, other people's minds, and so forth?
Dude, there are other people's minds that I do not want to see and perceive. With a sixth sense.
Most other people's minds. I don't. So, I'm afraid of what comes out of my mind sometimes, let alone someone else's.
There you go.
While this ability is active, your character can communicate in a limited fashion with this type of entity, receiving emotions, vague impressions. In addition, when you activate this ability, your character uses this method of communication to automatically gain one important piece of information relevant to the current encounter.
So the dead people you're seeing can say, dude, there's somebody hiding behind a curtain pulling levers. Right?
Or they could say, watch out for that guy behind you.
Yeah, well, there's that. There's somebody sneaking up on you. Cool.
There's a reason why I let you go first, because I knew numerically it was going to get you to this next one. What is it?
Oh, signature weapon? Dude, you figured that out beforehand? Dude, that's
no, I'm
cool
just kidding.
Oh, I'm like, man, I didn't think we prepped that much, you know. Anyways, no, signature weapon. Everybody knows what a signature weapon is. It's basically, some heroes are just inseparable from the type of weapon.
Thor's hammer.
Thor's hammer. Yeah, you wouldn't not know. It's not Thor's axe, even though he probably had one, right? I think.
Maybe.
But it's more of a hammer thing with him, right?
Put the hammer down.
Put the hammer down. I mean, you wouldn't have, like, Robin Hood's, like, sword. No, it's his freaking bow, man. Which, by the way, the new movie looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
No? Forget it. We won't go into that. But, you know, I mean, Excalibur, right? That's its signature weapon, man. It's named. Sure. It's a named signature weapon. Dragonbane. That's Killzak's signature weapon. And the base... So the base part of this... So correct me if I'm wrong here, Tony. Jump in when you can. I'm going to try and describe this. Because it has confused me a little bit, and I think we spent some time on the previous show describing this too. So you pick a signature weapon, whether it's a brawl weapon, melee weapon, one-handed, two-handed weapon, or a ranged weapon. There's a table for that. It gives you the base stats. Now, what I realized the other time is if you pick, say, an axe, you would add the special abilities. These are special abilities added on top of an axe or something?
I do believe so.
Is that how we would do it? Okay. So then you can pick a dwarven, elven, or steel craftsmanship. I believe steel craftsmanship is the default. You know, nothing real special or anything. The craftsmanship is further down in the gear section. You need to work with your GM to decide what this weapon is, what shape it takes, what it looks like, what it is, how your character came into possession of it too.
Right there. I am sorry. This just answered it. So the when I told you it had Pierce 2 from before and all that stuff, no, it says right here, the appearance of the weapon does not affect its profile.
Oh, but may dictate what attachments are available. Okay, so the special abilities for Killzak's Axe is Knockdown and Superior. It is not Vicious 3 or whatever, or Pierce 2 added onto that. It's Knockdown and Superior. Cool. All right, and then so what you would do is you pick the appearance of it. So in Killzak's case, it was an axe. Then what you do is, in addition, you choose one attachment that the signature weapon does not possess. And when you activate this ability, it's as if that it has that attachment on it for as long as your signature ability lasts. So you would activate it on, say, the first round, and it would end to the end of your next turn. So basically for 2 rounds, you'll have this going. And it doesn't have any cost or require any hard points because it's only active for 2 rounds, once per session. And then other attachments can be added to the weapon normally. And then it goes into whether if your signature weapon is lost or destroyed, it finds its way back in some way. And again, that's a kind of a GM kind of thing. You can work with them, or maybe the GM has ideas for that. Or
I just thought of a.
Go for it. Yeah.
I just thought of a cool thing you could do. You could also take this to create any. To take this as a template to create a sentient traveling companion. For your character, basically, like a. What's the term I'm thinking? An animal friend? Like a familiar? Yeah. You could have like a magical familiar this way.
Oh, sweet. That's cool. Dude, I like that idea.
Just saying. You could use this template.
Absolutely. And then there's an improved version and a supreme version of this power too. So
next we have Unbowed. Your character can fight on despite having the most horrendous injuries. It might be by sheer willpower, but that lets them accomplish this feat, or perhaps it's something more than mortal. In any case, even the most grievous wounds do not slow you down. When you activate this heroic ability, choose one critical injury your character is suffering from, except for dead. As long as this ability is active, you do not suffer any effects of that critical injury, including adding +10 to further rolls for critical injury results.
Nice.
You can also activate this heroic ability as an out-of-turn incidental when your character suffers a critical injury.
Okay,
there you go.
This is the one I was thinking of, and the supreme version of it, I must say, is...
Supreme version, while this ability is active, your character also ignores the effects of the dead result. They still die when the ability ends, unless the critical is somehow removed first, which is awesome.
Yeah. Oh,
I just got my head cut off. I'm still fighting.
Why was I just going to say that? Because great minds think alike, right, Tony?
Exactly.
That's awesome. All right.
All right, what's the last one?
The last one here is Unleash. When pushed to the breaking point, or maybe just when they want to show off. Yeah, right. As if we have characters that want to show off. Your character unleashes their full abilities, laying low any who oppose them. This might be achieved in a flurry of blows as your character lays about with the weapon strikes, or in a sudden urge of magical energy that blasts away whatever monsters and foes stand too close. It even could represent your character calling down the wrath of a deity or supernatural being. And this is the ability I believe my character in what do you call it? In Stefan's campaign that we're doing for the RPG Brewer, the live play, has. And so does Jamie's Mage, which two complete different looking effects by using the same heroic ability. So listen to those, see how we both describe them, and you might be like, oh, well, you picked Unleash, I might not want to. Well, you might, because it's kind of cool.
Yeah, you can do it all kinds of different ways, like how we did it for Daryl's, for my Terrinoth game.
Yep.
Daryl's Priest of Kelos, where he called down that pillars of holy fire down upon
all the minions.
Just minion group. Where did all the minions go?
Exactly. Let me read the base ability then. It's because they're like, what's Unleash? But everybody should have Terrinoth anyways, and should have already read this, so whatever. No. So while this ability is active, your character may perform a maneuver once per round on their turn to immediately defeat one minion group within short range. Yes, everybody. You can cut through a minion group as a maneuver, move up, and then slice the big bad in the same action, in the same turn if you want, because you still have your action left.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, and then this gets, and then if you don't think it can get any better, yeah, it does.
And totally, you could, like, for instance, if you're playing like that magic character as a GM, this is a moment where you want to narrate. Like I said with Daryl's thing, he was like calling down this pillar of holy fire, but then he was also casting spells from the same at the same time, and being the fire priest, like he did attacks, and the attacks narrated him as tendrils leaping out and pulling more, because he took an entire group of kobolds, and this pillar of fire came down, and all these tendrils were coming out and grabbing more kobolds and pulling them into the freaking pillar.
Yeah, that was cool
for his attacks.
Yeah, and I think Jamie had one where he wanted to cast barrier at the same time, and as that barrier kind of went boom, it was like this wave went out, destroyed some minions, and came back and whoo, and was that barrier spell form that he cast in the same round. That was sweet.
So very nice.
Yeah, man. That's cool. Yeah, you can have a lot of fun with this narratively. Most definitely. I think my character leapt into a tree, did some parkouring stuff, and took out some flying minions as they were leaving, taking somebody off the ground. It was pretty cool.
Nice.
Cool stuff. All right.
So we move into the next section, which is really the kind of the meat and potatoes of how to upgrade your heroic abilities. How do they get better? So as your character grows in experience, they gain ability points. These they can spend on upgrades for their heroic ability. Obviously, the upgrades improve the ability, but more importantly, they help to differentiate it. Even if two player characters have the same primary ability, like you and Jamie did, for their heroic abilities, different choices and upgrades can result in a completely different abilities.
Absolutely.
Your character receives ability points based on the XP gained through play. Every time your character hits, XP total increases by 50. So it's a milestone.
Yeah, some people call that earned experience points.
Yep.
Because at the beginning you're given X amount for your species or race. Yep.
So, and when your character gains ability points, you decide how to spend them. Each upgrade includes a cost. Spending the required amount of ability points on the upgrade permanently adds that benefit of that upgrade to your heroic ability. Yeah. Some upgrades have a cumulative effect if you purchase that upgrade multiple times. Yes. So let's get into these.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, so every 50 earned XP, you'll get an ability point. Simple. And you don't have to spend it right away.
Nope.
Which you
can save them.
Exactly. So the first one is the duration. It costs 1 ability point. So instead of at 50 earned experience points, you could add this duration effect, which means it'll last for 1 additional turn for each purchase of the duration. So then you can buy it again and again and again. So instead of lasting for 2 rounds, it'll last for 3. What's the next one?
Nice. Frequency. This costs 2 ability points. Your character can activate their heroic ability 1 additional time per session for each purchase of frequency.
Wow.
Dude, okay, so your standard session has 3 encounters in it.
At least.
Roughly 3 to 5 encounters.
Yeah, 3 or 4 hours. 4 to 3
if you're activating if you're activating your ability 3 times in 1 session, it's going to cost you 6 ability points, meaning you're going to be at 300.
Oh, true. Yeah, ability points.
300 earned XP. But damn!
That's a lot of minions. That's a lot of minions to unleash upon, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. What's next?
What's next? Power. Oh, this is the special one. Okay, so the first time you purchase this upgrade, it costs 1 ability point, and your character's primary ability gains the improved effect. So how we told you what we went through, all those different heroic abilities, we were just reading the base effects. There's an improved and a supreme effect. So the improved cost 1 ability point. And the second time, at a cost of 2 more ability points, you can gain the supreme effect. So, doing the math, 150 earned experience points of just selecting the power. After 50, you could do the improved effect, another 2 ability points, which is another 100 XP. Then you can get the supreme effect on your power, which is slick.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Okay, next we have the secondary effect, and there's a whole list of those, but it costs 1 ability point. You add a secondary effect to your character's heroic ability. When you purchase this upgrade, select one of the following secondary effects, and we'll go over those too. You may purchase this upgrade a second time and choose a different effect for a total of 2 secondary effects. As with the primary ability effect, you should work with the GM to come up with the exciting narrative explanations for it. Even if the primary effect is instantaneous, the duration of the heroic ability matters for many of the secondary effects. Remember, a heroic ability lasts until the end of your character's next turn, or longer if you have the duration upgrade. So, the first one is devastating.
Yeah.
While this ability is active, your character adds +2 damage to 1 hit each of their attacks.
Yeah. 1 hit, so one...
If they're dual wielding, it's only 1 hit. They add
1
2.
hit of each of their attacks. Yep. Dude,
Yeah.
that's cool. Next one is Diminish. While the ability is active, enemies within short range add a setback die to their skill checks.
Nice.
That's why you're all awesome and heroic. The enemies around you are like, oh my gosh, he's heroic.
Oh, this one's a great one for a wizard. Drain. When your character activates their heroic ability, at the beginning of each of their turns, it remains active. Enemies within short range suffer 2 strain.
Wow, that's sweet.
I could just see this. The wizard is just draining strain out of people.
Oh, and then here's Empowered, which is the opposite of Diminish. While the ability is active, your character adds a boost die to their skill checks. This is, I am awesome and empowered. I am heroic. I get a bonus die. I get a boost die. To all my skill checks.
How about empowering your allies? While the ability is active, allies within short range add a boost die to their skills.
That's right. You're heroic. Awesome. I can do better now.
You know me, therefore you get a boost die.
That's right. Ka-ching. I could smile. Ka-ching, right? Rejuvenation. Yeah. When your character activates this ability, and at the beginning of each turn they take while it remains active, you heal 2 strain.
That's a good one for a caster.
Talk about a caster one. Yeah, man.
Yeah. Rejuvenate allies. Same thing, except for it's all friends within short range heal 2 strain.
Hey, I know you. I feel better now. Renewal. All right, this renewal. When your character activates this ability, you may choose to generate a new PC initiative slot. What? You may choose to use Cool or Vigilance for this role. The new result remains for the duration of the encounter. The new initiative slot is immediately available for use, but it does not allow any PC to take an extra turn during a round. That's kind of weird. And I don't think I've ever read this one before, to be honest with you.
And cool.
And cool.
And then the last upgrade we have is cost story. Cost is 1 ability point. Your character only needs to spend 1 story point to activate their ability. You can only purchase this upgrade 1 time.
Yep, because there's really no reason to go beyond that.
Well, you can't make it 0.
Can't make it 0. You always have to spend a story point to do this, at least 1. Yeah, right. Dude, those are cool, man. So that's how you would upgrade. And you would upgrade and improve your heroic abilities and make them your own, right? So casters and healers would probably want that rejuvenation to kind of heal people in range. Obviously, your big damage doers may want to pick the damage one.
Right.
Yeah. Duration on the minion groups, though. On Unleash.
Yeah, duration on Unleash is just, Ugh.
You know what that reminds me of? Remember the movie Hero?
Mm-hmm.
When they're at the calligraphy school and those two from that not from the calligraphy school. It transferred from there to the two, I don't know, I call them like 20th level fighters, samurai, just going up and just mowing through all those like first level fighters and guards. That's Unleash, man. That's Unleash, right?
Right. Okay.
What next do we?
Well, we have the heroic ability origins. So your character's heroic ability is an important part of who they are. Mm-hmm. So you'll want to decide how they came by such an impressive ability. It's likely that during this process you've already thought about the explanation for your character's ability and how they first obtained it. In which case, you should discuss the idea with your GM and make sure you both agree that's what's best for the campaign.
Yep.
But if you don't have an idea yet and you just want to leave it to fate, you can roll on table 2-2, the heroic ability origins. Mm-hmm. You roll a d10 and you determine your origin.
Right. I'd probably cherry pick one for my character.
Oh, I have cherry picked every one that I've done so far.
I randomly rolled the one for who the heck am I playing in Stefan's game? My Templar.
That's cool.
I can't remember. Oh, I randomly rolled
Sorry, buddy.
But it made sense. Anyway.
Oh, I'm sorry. I yawned there. Whew.
Dude, that's okay.
Getting up.
I don't mean
getting past my bedtime.
Oh, it is.
No, I'm just kidding.
Are you seven? You're not 7 beers in, are you?
No. I don't. Actually, I've only had the one Angry Orchard, I'm sad that I haven't had a second one. So yeah. Anyhow, there's different ones here. There's In Your Blood. There's Chosen One. It's an artifact of power, favored by the unseen forces, driven, life-changing experience, blessed or cursed, peerless training, and magical exposure. And they all have their different descriptions, but pretty much it's good enough. And then, of course, there's the standard, you got a table, so the last result has to be roll again, ignoring duplicates, and apply both origins.
Yeah, nice. So roll again. Awesome. And then they have a couple of examples of a couple of heroic abilities. But dude, do you want to make a couple?
Well, we've made some, so let's describe. I made mine. I'll go first.
Go for it.
So Gorgo, if you have listened to Jimmy Fett's game that he ran for us, hi Jim, great game. Let's play it again soon. He ran us through an awesome little Terrinoth adventure, had us make a couple of characters. So I made Gorgo Ragemantle. Now, one of the things I had, this really cool backstory that came with, I didn't have it before I decided what my character, I found this sketch where there's this orc with all these demonic horns and scales coming off of him. And I'm like, I don't know why, but I want that.
Yeah.
So,
which is a great way, by the way, to get inspiration for. I have a board on Pinterest. You don't know how many character concepts the things are in that board, but yeah, I understand.
That is my general way of making characters. I see a picture, I want to put a character to that picture.
I hear you, man.
So I decided that Gorgos was going to be hard to kill. Now, Jim let us make these characters with 50 earned XP, so I got to immediately upgrade it once, and I believe I took it.
I can't remember what I did for Killzak.
I took the improved version.
Yeah. I might have taken the improved version too because of the axe.
Right. So with hard to kill, the way I narrated it, Gorgo, has these demonic horns and scales. So I called it his infernal curse.
Nice.
And this is why he was cast out of his orc tribe. And that's infernal spelled the Terrinoth way. But he has this, some reason he was cursed upon birth. He was born with these horns and scars and scales. And so that was my description. I already had my description of where it came from. It's cursed. Right before I even, and then I started looking at him, and I thought about miraculous recovery. I really did.
Okay,
but
that's been a good one.
I liked the idea of hard to kill. Being able to just wade into groups of people and not care about damage is what I really want. Not I want to be able to heal fast. I'm not Wolverine.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then I took the improved version. So the improved version of Hard to Kill was, while this ability is active, your character also increases the difficulty of all combat checks targeting them by 1.
And increasing the difficulty is adding another purple die.
Mm-hmm. So all melee attacks, are 3, are hard. So by adding another die,
plus
adding
4. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that was Gorgos, and then when he activated,
of course you pick Curse then on the origin, right? Gotcha. Okay.
So narratively, when he activates it, all of a sudden these horns and scales become more pronounced, and his eyes glow red with an infernal fire, and he, his curse becomes readily available or readily apparent for everyone to see. So
now I know why it's more difficult to hit him, because he just looks like a scary motherfucker. After he's all roided out,
right?
Or infernal
raging.
Infernal raging.
So you were going to build one for Pimpernel.
Yes, Pimpernel Didderdo, everybody, is actually it's a D&D 5th edition character concept I created that I wanted to genocize him and see if I could do it. And This is another part of that journey, giving him a heroic ability. Now, I was thinking a lot of these don't really fit him, because his background is he was an orphan dropped off at a church of Yundala, a halfling church, right? And basically grew up in the church, went out, healed people, good kid, right? Doing all that, and then one day a celestial solar being came to him and said, "Hey, look, I'm gonna give you some more powers here, but you have to leave the church and go adventuring off," right? So that's kind of my background here. So his origin of this warlocky power is favored by unseen forces, and that unseen force is a celestial being of some sort of higher power there, right? So then thinking about that, nothing like hard to kill or combat related stuff for this guy. It wouldn't be unleashing and mollywopping a bunch of minions or anything like that. However, Paragon stood out to me because he spent all of his life trying to heal people. So his divine magic skill would be the one. And of course, in our last, our last episode during Advantageous Threats, I gave him like an arcane ability, but after I created him in D&D, I'm like, you know what, this is a divine. He's definitely a divine caster. So I would pick, when you select this primary ability effect, choose one skill, and I would pick the divine skill for that.
Nice.
And the base skill would be, after rolling a dice, I can remove a purple from that. And then as I improve it, I can instead remove the effects of a setback die.
Not instead, you may also.
Really?
The improved version is, while its ability, you may remove.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, and then that makes the Supreme one a hell of a lot more powerful.
Nope. The Supreme then removes instead of.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, instead of. Okay, so then a Supreme, you can remove a challenge die, i.e. a despair, from a roll. And that seems, that felt a lot like this guy, because he spent all of his life doing this, honing his power, and of course, being a warlock of the Celestial is the name. It would be the name of this heroic ability.
Nice.
Yeah.
So very
That's
cool.
What we got there, man. What else did we want to talk about heroic abilities?
Well, we talked about tweaking them and doing different things with them, but what are some potential other uses for them, like for other systems and what settings and whatnot?
Well, I think every setting you could use definitely any of these. To be honest, a heroic ability. I mean, I think in Star Wars these are basically signature abilities, right?
Kind of. Yeah, they're close.
Kind of. They're close to it.
Yeah. I think these are a must for a superhero. If you're going to play a superheroes game,
well, it's in the name, man.
Heroic abilities would be perfect to run.
They would.
And I can imagine even adding a few more origins in so that you have that bit by a radioactive spider or
lab experiment gone wrong.
Or you and your 3 friends were in a spacecraft that got hit by cosmic energy, you know.
Mm-hmm. You're a billionaire and you don't know what to do with your money. So you become, because you invent a bunch of things. Yeah.
Oh, dude, you could totally come up with a superhero origin table, a big, huge one with all the different origins for superpowers. And then this would be one of the first things you do with your character. What is their heroic ability and how does it affect them? And then
you can go to town on it.
Yeah, and you can expand upon it. Maybe add in a few more tweaks of things that they can do with their power.
You could do like base superpowers if in these. You know what I mean? In a way.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, you could do superpowers that way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Now, I would. So, thinking about that, you could use heroic abilities really in any setting. But there are settings, I don't think I would want to use it in Primeval Thule.
No,
because Primeval, I think more of your grittier settings, lower magic, lower fantasy, lower magic settings, you might not want to. I don't know.
No, it's definitely a more gonzo concept. So if you're playing a more of a gonzo type game, I'd say if I was doing a Rifts conversion, I would guarantee that they would be in there.
Oh yeah.
But if I was doing a core rulebook game of 70s crime show,
probably not.
No. If you're trying to do horror, any type of horror, you don't want to use them. You want that grit.
Mm-hmm. A more realistic, like investigative kind of game, something like that. Maybe. I don't know whether you would want to, maybe like a World War II or weird war setting, like they have in Savage Worlds. If you wanted to do something like that, maybe.
Well, you could totally do them in a weird war setting. Yeah, they'd work in that.
Yeah. How about it? Here we go. Here's a question: Primordial Machina. Would we want them in Primordial Machina?
Don't know yet.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't know whether we want our setting to be more gritty or more fantasy. We haven't. I mean, based on the art that you and I have chosen, we've got some good mix of both. So,
we kind of do.
That's a conversation we're going to have eventually.
Yes, we will. Now, I didn't think of any other settings. I'm not really sure. But again, I think your mileage vary. I mean, for everybody, these heroic abilities may have a feel in their game that they might not want them in it. They might want them in every game. I don't know. I think that's up to you.
You certainly wouldn't want them in, like for instance, you would think I want these in every fantasy game I'm going to run. But we chose not to do them in our Middle-earth conversion.
Nope, we didn't.
Because Middle-earth is more low magic and grittier.
Yep.
So just as GM's advice, find out whether you want your system. What is the tone you want for your setting? If you want it to be grittier, if you want it to be more horror, if you want it to be more grounded in reality, forego using them.
Yeah, you might not want to, right?
But there is nothing that says you can't. If, for instance, in our 50 Pieces of Awesome example, if he had chosen to throw a version of heroic abilities in, it was totally doable in that.
Totally would. And you know what? It might give it a different feel, too, if he did. But I don't know. But what's nice about this heroic ability mechanic and narrative, it's bolted on. it's just an add-on. It doesn't change any of the core rules.
And that gave us an idea of how to do add-ons to the core rules of our own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, other than the specifics, like removing the effects of, say, a setback die, right?
Right.
I mean, that's definitely changing the rules, but talents do that all the time too. So this is just another way of doing it, and it's a whole system just kind of bolted on, which is nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, man. Well, I think we pretty much killed it, man.
Yeah, we did. That was awesome.
Shall we go set the tone?
Let's.
Okay, folks, welcome to Setting the Tone, our new format. So we are looking at the worlds of Android. And one of the things that Android coming out, it's got this name, the Android setting. It's got Shadow of the Beanstalk. And I want to know what the hell the damn Beanstalk is. What we got this super sci-fi cyberpunk setting and a beanstalk? What the fuck? Did we get, Jack throw some magic beans around? What was it?
We kind of did, to be honest.
So
that's kind of where that is the right reference to it and why they call it the Beanstalk.
Exactly. So we decided we were going to go into the Worlds of Android, page 100, and we were going to talk about the New Angeles Space Elevator, also known as the Beanstalk.
Yes.
So the first thing I noticed when I was reading this, Wayland Consortium.
Oh, yeah.
Is the name of the company. Wayland Consortium. Where have I heard that name before? Wayland Yutani. Building better worlds. The aliens.
What? Really?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
I did not make that connection.
Spelled the same way and everything.
That's 50 pieces of awesome there, FHG. Good Lord.
Yep.
That's cool, dude.
Yeah, you could totally incorporate aliens right into this, and it would fit seamlessly. But anyhow, Wayland Consortium's New Angeles Space Elevator, which was first opened for business in 35. Is that 2135?
Businesses in 2135, probably.
Yep.
I don't know. I have not gotten an idea of the actual, like, how far in the future this Android setting is.
Oh.
I thought it was a couple hundred years or something like that, because there is this, on page 251, there's the New Angeles Times. It says 2312.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
thinking it might be 2135.
Or 2235, hard to tell.
I think it might be 2235, to be honest
All right.
with you.
It has become the keystone for humankind's industrial and technological utilization of space. It stretches from the peak of an ice-clad equatorial mountain in Ecuador out to a distance of some 72,000 kilometers straight up. The structure, popularly known as the Beanstalk, after the old fairy tale Jack and the Beanstalk, which, by the way, founder of the Wayland Corporation is Jack Wayland, by the way. Just saying.
And the onion layers can just be peeled back even more. Way to go, Tony.
It gives cheap and easy access to space and resources available in space, perhaps the most important of these being helium-3, shipped down the stalk from the moon, but the incoming riches include heavy metals, volatiles mined from asteroids, high-tech electronics and components built in space, and pharmaceuticals manufactured in microgravity. And cheap power. Yeah, and cheap power by means of beamed microwaves and direct current. Which, jeez, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, the whole thing that really spawned this Beanstalk idea was from the 1900s. To be honest with you, that was the first idea of a space elevator that came up. And when this helium-3 in this setting seems to be the energy of choice, if you will.
Yeah.
More than anything for, like, space travel. And for energy, really,
it's rumored to be the key to cold fusion.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, so it solves the energy crisis. And in any of these games, a lot of them are like, yes, we've been using all of our natural resources here on Earth. We need to spread out. We need to go out to Luna, Mars, go start exploring space because we're using up all our natural resources here on Earth. But Helium-3 has kind of solved that problem for us here, which has made it easier and better for them in this society. That's why the Beanstalk is so important. So what's really neat is what I like are these quotes. These next 4 quotes that kind of build up the groundwork for the Beanstalk. And in 1911, oh my gosh, this name, Konstantin Tsiolkovsky. Whatever, I'm butchering this name, but the quote
it's cool. Konstantin Tsiolkovsky.
Perfect. Nice pronunciation. That's awesome.
Tsiolkovsky.
Earth is the cradle of humanity, but one cannot live in the cradle forever. So, dude, in 1911, this guy said that. We're not always going to stay on Earth. And he was a rocket scientist. Yeah. He theorized about, space travel and rocket propulsion. And the Eiffel Tower actually inspired his idea for this. And his idea was to create a tower that reaches space. Nice. Cool. What's the next one?
All right. Well, the next quote is, "But science and technology are swiftly moving ahead, and perhaps already toward the end of the century, the construction of a cableway to the heavens will begin." And that's from Yuri Artsutanov.
1960.
Yeah, in 1960. Yuri was a Russian engineer at Leningrad Technological Institute and who built on the original ideas of Tsiolkovsky's, and he became a very important pioneer for the space elevator concept. Mm-hmm. And he was right in the midst, in 1960, he was right in the midst of the great space race. Oh, yeah. So,
putting Yuri Gagarin in space and all that kind of good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. So then Arthur C. Clarke in 1981 said the space elevator will be built about 50 years after everyone stops laughing. What a great quote. I mean, come on, brilliant minds are like coming up with things. You're like, yeah, whatever, dude. The communicator in Star Trek in the 1960s, what the hell's that? Mm-hmm. Well, that's a damn flip phone, everybody, from the 1990s.
Yeah, we're past that now.
They're the data pads in what do you call it? In
Star Wars.
In Next Generation and in Star Wars. That's your iPad that you're probably listening to us on right now. Yep. But yeah, Arthur C. Clarke, known for like the 2001: A Space Odyssey, his short story The Sentinel, and whatever. He's a futurist, coming up with these concepts and added to these ideas. And he had a fictional, one of the novels had the concept of the space elevator reaching the public at large and whatnot. Mm-hmm. His version was in an island of Sri Lanka in the Indian Ocean for accurate physics, of course. So, next one.
Nice. Well, the next quote came in 2006 from the Spaceward Foundation. Mm-hmm. For the first time since it was initially conceived, this dream is now within our reach. This might have happened in 2035, for all I know. But the world has long looked for a system that could get people into orbit more cheaply and safely than the time-honored means of large, loud, and dangerous chemical rockets. Despite the need, the space elevator development was hampered by two fundamental problems: how to build the cable and how to best climb it. Mm-hmm. Beginning in the early 21st century, a series of international competitions were held by various groups interested in advancing the idea of a working space elevator, including the Spaceward Foundation, NASA, the International Space Elevator Consortium, and the Japan Space Elevator Association. All the first year or after the first year, most competitions had two parts: a climber challenge and a tether challenge. The climber challenge tested the ability of each entry to climb the tether powered by energy beamed from the ground. The tether challenge had teams competing to build the longest and strongest tether. Winners showed showed just how ready the world was for this technological marvel.
Mm-hmm. So picture this, everybody. The way they did this was put a rock at the end of a string and swing it over your head in a circle, right? And swing it around. Now picture your hand being the earth and this rock being the end of like a satellite, right? Going around. And that's basically geosynchronous orbit, kind of staying right in one spot, kind of going around. And that concept right there, geosynchronous orbit, which keeps our satellites above us in various areas, that's the concept behind this, to get this space elevator in space.
Now, to keep it going with the center of Earth's gravity, you have to put it on the equator. So they decided to put it in Ecuador. And they built this, what they called the root.
Yep. I think
the root of the beanstalk.
Yep.
Is basically, they anchored it to a volcano.
Great concept, everybody.
Yes. So it's in the Chicana district of New Angeles, which I didn't think New Angeles was that big, but damn. Okay.
No, New Angeles is in Ecuador. It's not in Los Angeles. It's new because it's now around this route was this city that kind of built out. So it's in Ecuador.
So
it was awesome.
Yeah, it's on the Volcan Cayambe, which is Cayambe volcano. And so, yeah, this thing is huge. Just the root alone is huge. That's basically what anchors it to the earth. It is on the side of a mountain. Yep. There's a picture here that is just unbelievable in size. You see skyscrapers are about maybe an eighth the size of this thing.
Yes.
Of just the root of it.
Exactly.
I mean, it's crazy. Wow. Okay.
So the root, you have some way to tether. You have to have something to root to the earth. The next piece of this is called the tether. By far the most massive portion of the entire structure. The tether is the taut stretch cable that connects the top of the Volcan Cayambe on Earth's equator with a small asteroid 72,000 kilometers up. Tether is the support structure for the entire assembly. It's also the means by which the space elevator cars colloquially known as bean pods.
Colloquially?
Right, known as bean pods, move between the Earth's surface and orbit. This is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I got this big cable going up to space. And by the way, there is a rock at the end of that string. It is an asteroid.
Right.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you get up to geosynchronous orbit, as soon as you get up, midway up, about halfway up the beanstalk, just above the 35,000 kilometer mark, is Midway Station. It's basically a space station on the middle of the string.
Right. And the reason why, so what's cool is how they built this thing. Did you read how they did that?
Go ahead.
Well, how they did that was they built it, they put a space station in geosynchronous orbit and started building the thing. They started building the cable that would go from this space station down to Earth, and in the cable that would extend further up out of space, out the other way. Okay, to this asteroid. And then they basically mined this asteroid for the raw materials that they made to create this cable at Midway Station. And Midway Station is basically like a big touristy station. That's where everybody wants to go. Like billions of dollars is spent on tourism on this place every year.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a huge terminal.
Yeah.
Just as a nexus point, so to speak, of activity for people going to and from Earth.
Pretty much, yeah. Or they just want to come up here and chill for a bit. Go up to Midway Station.
It's an awesome place for campaign ideas.
Oh yeah, dude. Yes, it is.
All right, so the tether goes further out.
Yes, and that asteroid at the end of it is called the Challenger Planetoid, and this thing was basically it was an asteroid that was on basically a collision course with Earth or near, and they actually brought it into geosynchronous orbit by mining the damn thing of this helium-3, the metals and materials needed to build these cables. And they brought this down from the asteroid. And as they were chipping away at this thing, its orbit came closer and closer to Earth, closer and closer. And they brought it in and they put rockets on it and moved it right into position and whatnot. So there's facilities on the near side, they call it near side facilities, which is the side of it that faces Earth. And then there's far side facilities that are on the opposite side, and that's the places where, this is a launch pad for the human race to go into space. Basically.
Cool.
Right? Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
And then the last thing we have when we talk about the space elevator is how do you get up and down? Well, we talked about them. There are things that are called beam pods. Yep. It's a vital element to the space elevator system. It's an ascent-descent vehicle. And so basically you get on one of these things on Earth, and it shoots up the tether and goes up this 35,000 kilometer climb to Midway Station. Yep. Then you got to change on Midway Station. You got to change cars because those just keep going up and down between Earth and Midway. Okay. And then on the other side of Midway, you get on another one and you go to Challenger to the planetoid and back. Yeah. So, and these beam pods are, they're an elongated elevator car designed to climb and descend the tether while carrying passengers and other cargo. A standard passenger pod is a cigar-shaped vessel about 21 meters long, about the size of a small ship. Let's see, 21 meters long and 5 meters through at the widest. Yep. Divided into 3 decks. They've got a diagram of them here. It's pretty cool. Each deck holds 12 padded chairs and a restroom and a small drink and snack bay. In the pointed ends of the environmental control gear, air, water tanks, heating and air conditioning units, and radar and control systems. Amidships is on the exterior hull is a magnetic flange that rides the elevator groove, as well as a folded up paraglider ram chute for emergencies, which is awesome.
Yeah, so it uses it's like the maglev trains. Yep. Right? So it uses that electricity. So my understanding is the cars that come down generate enough electricity and energy to send the next car to go up. That's kind of how it works, and the cable is able to harness this energy and such because of the materials it's made out of. So it's kind of neat from a physics standpoint. It's kind of cool.
And then they have larger cargo ones.
Yep.
So that's pretty much it. I mean, there's a lot of physics behind this, but it's so cool. It's such a cool concept. You could run a game in just any one of those areas of the Beanstalk.
Oh, absolutely.
You could have an entire game take place in the root of the Beanstalk, or in Midway Station, or on the Challenger planetoid.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I can't wait till they have specific stuff to come out for some of these and some of the adventures and setting areas for the on the Beanstalk and for Midway Station.
Very cool.
Oh, yeah.
Very cool.
Oh, yeah. So that's a Beanstalk, everybody.
Yeah. Story time with Tony and Chris.
All right. Are we ready to move on to Advantageous Threats?
Let's roll some fucking dice.
No, let's do it.
Welcome to Advantageous Threats. All right, so...
I hear the crowd. Dude, I hear the crowd. I hear our tens of listeners.
We are ready to roll some dice and adjudicate how they go. So I went with today's theme, and my character, Gorgo Ragemantle, a Broken Plains orc primalist, is surrounded by a plethora of men in black pajamas and black hoods with sharp swords, also known as 8 minion groups of 2 with 10 wounds and 3 soak.
Ooh.
Yeah, tough group of guys. He will be activating his heroic ability, the Infernal Curse. Now, I thought it would be cool to kind of think, what would it be like if Gorgo was at 200 earned XP?
Ooh, I like it.
So, he has advanced his Infernal Curse a little bit.
Okay.
It now has Power 2.
Ooh.
So he has the Supreme version of it.
Oh.
And then he has the Devastating effect added on, which gives him +2 damage on any attacks he makes while it's running. And he also has the that's it. That's all he has on it.
All
but the Supreme version of Hard to Kill.
That's it.
That's,
you don't want any more?
No, I want more, but I don't have more right this moment. I just wanted to go over the Supreme version of Hard to Kill real quick, which is while your heroic ability is active, your character is immune to damage. Reduce all damage the character suffers to 0. That's why Gorgo went straight for that. So,
Dude, rock on.
All right, so he activates his ability, spending the 2.
Still flip the story points. Spend your incidental.
That's an incidental.
Yes, it is.
So now he's going to cast his improved signature spell, Infernal Hate.
Oh. Alrighty then.
All right.
So you're like immune to damage.
I'm immune to damage, which is awesome. So I figured, I got some loot here. I think with Gorgo and Killzak being together, and Killzak was at about 180 earned XP.
Maybe.
So
something like
this
that.
might be dragon loot that I've got here. I got a fire wand.
Yeah, you do.
To cast my spell through.
Yep.
So my signature spell, Infernal Hate, is an attack spell with the close combat, blast, and empowered qualities. Mm-hmm. Now, close combat or attack spell is 1 difficulty. Close combat adds another difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
Blast adds a 3rd difficulty. So we're at 4 right now.
Yep.
Or sorry, we're at 3 right now.
Yep.
And then empowered adds 2 more. So it's a total of 5.
Nice.
But because it's an improved signature spell,
yeah,
it is only going to be 3 difficulty for me.
It's going to be hard.
Now, Gorgo's primal magic is 3 yellow, 1 green. So get that up there. I got that. And with his fire wand, he gets to add the fire effect for free. So now it's fire on top of all that.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at right now a 3 yellow, 1 green, 3 purple pool.
Okay. Well, I'm going to flip a story point as the GM here. Because I don't know where else you would see black pajamaed and black hood dudes, but in some, what do you call it? In some Japanese style village that is awfully flammable.
Right.
That's the reason for flipping it over to red.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
We ready for this?
Yeah, that looks good, man. I think I'm good with that.
All right. All right. Well, I have used my incidental, and I am casting this as an action. So I'm going to aim. Throw in a blue die.
Oh, yeah. Well done.
It's an attack.
Yes, it is.
All right, here we go. Boom. All right. So first thing I see is that I did succeed.
Okay.
I only had one success. So my damage for the spell is normally 11.
That includes your fire wand added stuff too?
Yes.
And your devastating?
Yes. Empowered.
Okay.
Empowered the fire. So it's normally 11 with one success. I'm going to do 12 damage to the group that is in engaged range to me. So 12 damage.
Now, did you add +2 for devastating?
I didn't put devastating on it.
You put your you have your
+2
ability going.
It's already built into the 11 damage.
It is built in. Okay, gotcha. Just want to make sure.
Yep. Nope. That's fine. It's built into the 11 damage. My apologies. So that left me with 4 advantage also. So, first thing I'm going to do is activate Blast.
Of course you are.
Everything, including Gorgo, at engaged range of the target. Because I did this close combat, but Gorgo takes no damage.
Yes, he doesn't, does he?
And with 2 more advantage, I'm going to activate Burn, so that everybody takes the damage again next round.
Sweet. That's pretty good, dude. Now, if you're casting a spell at engaged range, do you add a difficulty to it? How does that work?
By adding the close combat.
That's it. You're able to do it. Gotcha.
Yes.
No problem.
Yes. By adding the close combat, it increased the difficulty.
Okay, cool.
Which allows me to cast a spell at engaged range.
So you just do a blast fire from yourself.
I just drop this fiery hate down upon me and everyone around me, and they all burn up, and I just stand in the middle of it, howling maniacally.
Of course you are. And Killzak is going, "You son of a bitch!" as he's putting out all the fire on his beard.
Save one for me.
That's right.
I could picture Killzak going, "Damn it, save one for me!"
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. Cools, dude.
All right, Chris, what'd you bring for me?
Well, I brought Pimpernel Didderdo to the table tonight again. But in this case, Pimpernel just saw one of his comrades die in combat. Just boom, dead. About short range away from him. And he wants to immediately resurrect one of his fallen buddies. So he is going to use the divine ability to heal. Okay? Now, in order to do this, because he's a paragon, of course, he's going to activate his signature ability. Now, I'm just going to say he's probably got 50 earned XP, maybe a little more than that. So he's got the base, maybe the improved version of the paragon thing, where he can take a result of a purple die.
Mm-hmm.
And
a setback.
And a setback, yes.
Nice.
And remove it. And he's probably spent it maybe to reduce the number of story points he can spend, maybe to 1. So he flips that. And Pimpernel is only short distance, so he's going to use his rune-encrusted rod, which is basically a magic staff, to not increase the difficulty of the distance. So adding the range there for free. And it's a good thing, because resurrection is +4 difficulty. So he's got 5 purple dice now.
Wow! Okay.
To resurrect his buddy away from him. He had gotten dedication during his years of adventuring, or a little bit. So his willpower has increased to 4. And he has maxed his divine skill already to 5. So we're talking 4 yellow, 1 green, yet 5 purple dice to roll here to resurrect a dead comrade. So I'm going to get these dice out.
What's the situation here? Is this
it's in the middle of combat.
Middle of combat?
Oh, yeah.
Well, if you're trying to resurrect in the middle of combat, I'm definitely going to give you a setback die.
Automatic
at least.
Okay. Yep. Cool.
And then I see that as also being a good reason as a GM to flip a story point and upgrade.
Sweet. That works for me, man.
Now notice, folks, that neither of us upgraded our checks as the player because we spent the story points to activate our heroic abilities.
Right. Which we could technically, because this is a separate check, we still could, but don't want to get too greedy on that story point pool. So we're talking 4 yellow, a green, 4 purple, a red, and a setback die.
There you go.
Are we good? All right, here we go. Rolling it on the Android book. Let's see what kind of juju that mixes up. Oop, one fell on the floor.
Well.
Ooh, it was a failure, too. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so I need to find my successes and advantages. Ooh. Oh my. All right. So my Paragon ability here, I'm going to get rid of the setback die. I'm going to make it was a failure, but I'm going to move it to a blank. And I've got 2 threat on a purple die that I'm going to move to a blank as well.
Nice.
Which by the way, still leaves me with 2 threat. Nut. And it's going to I am triumphant though too. So, I have 3 successes, a triumph, but 2 threat.
Okay.
On the red challenge die. Mwahahaha. So,
all right.
I'm thinking because I succeeded, his buddy is brought back to life.
Mm-hmm.
Triumphantly so, that maybe he has some wounds healed up, too. Maybe not full, but maybe...
Half?
Half? Something like that.
With 1 triumph, I could see half wounds. Yeah.
I could see that. Maybe an equal amount of strain, but probably not. If I would have got advantage, maybe I spend advantage on healing some strain, too. But I think the triumph, it would be just... The wounds have healed, or that mortal blow that just smoked my buddy is gone. But I got a couple.
So... what I see is I'm gonna over narrate here just a little bit.
Perfect.
So your buddy, when he went down, what he actually did was he took a sword to the face, and it cut right into his eyes. And so when he went down, you're like, no, and you run over to him and you bap him with your staff and say a prayer to your celestial being, and all of a sudden you feel this blinding whiteness enter your vision, and for the remainder of the round, for the until the end of your next turn, you are blind.
Nice.
For the threat.
Oh, I love that, Tony. That's killer, dude. I love it. That's great.
So you basically took some of the wound into yourself.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Channeling from across the battlefield. Yeah, dude. Oh, cool.
Nice.
So,
all right.
So he's big pimpin' now.
Yeah.
Can't see it, but he's big pimpin'. Pimpernel. All right. That was fun. That was good.
Oh, dude. I wish we could play more often together, dude. We just do so well with this. All right.
I know. Well, hey, we have a few sessions coming up in a few days.
I know. I can't wait. Are you ready? Let's get this over with so we can get closer to that.
And prepare and start packing, right? All right, let's do
finish.
It. Let's finish. All right. Yeah, man. Simply the best, buddy. Okay, so let's see. So yes, thanks for listening tonight. Everybody.
Yeah. We had fun doing it.
Or tonight, the middle of the day, early morning, whenever you're listening to us. Thank you.
Or tomorrow, when you're listening to it tomorrow.
That too. Yeah, thank you. And, I want to give out a shout out to the Wild Die Podcast. This is the podcast dedicated to Pinnacle Entertainment Group's Savage Worlds by Eric Lamoureux, Gary McCallum, and Harrison Hunt, where they discuss basically everything from the rules and settings and everything in between, all things Savage Worlds, which is a great system. Best $10 you'll ever spend. Just dropped. They just dropped their 100th episode last month. So, congratulations to you guys. Well done. Keep it going. They have a Patreon. They're on the MeWes. They're Proud Nerds International members. Gonna be out there at the con. They're on Podbean. They're at thewilddie@gmail.com.
Yeah. They do a real good show. I love it. It's funny. It's Harrison and Gary picking on Eric pretty much, and Eric takes it so well. It's great. But Harrison does all of these little song clips for their show. He makes all their beds between their segments, and he does some hilarious stuff. He does a Patreon jingle where he raps or death metal screams the names of all their Patreons. And if you ever wanted to hear,
for sure,
if you ever wanted to hear a death metal growl from a British man on a podcast, listen to the Wild Die Podcast. I'm just saying.
Yep.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, you'll find them and us this week. Not next week. This week.
Yes.
At Con on the Cobb, November 8th through the 11th. We'll be there. They'll be there. Eric is going to be running his new setting that he's been drawing up. He's been writing up for over a year. Wise Guys for Savage Worlds, where you play mobsters, Vegas-style mobsters in the 90s crime. There's the 90s that never happened. As if the FBI had never cracked down on organized crime.
Oh, sweet. That setting's so cool.
Yeah, we play tested it last year. Chris and I did. It was fun. And Eric's going to be running that for people at the con. Harrison is running Shadowrun for the RPG Brewery for a live play. I don't know what else is. I don't think he's running anything else for the con. Gary, of course, bowed out of running anything because I say it's because he's a big giant babe. No, I'm just kidding. He's it's because him and his wife are going on vacation after the con, so he couldn't bring all of his gaming stuff. They're going to somewhere. But anyhow, he'll be there to play, and you can't miss him. He's a giant wall of man flesh.
The bugbear that has 25 charisma.
And of course, Chris,
failed your charisma. You failed your charisma roll. Roll again.
And of course, Chris and I will be there, hanging out, drinking beers under the Nerd International banner, having a great time.
Mm-hmm. My plane will be landing, Tony. 61 hours, 15 minutes, man.
Dude, I can smell it. I can smell it already. I'm just saying.
You can smell the JP5 from here.
I can smell the jet fuel.
Yeah, the JP5 fuel.
Yeah, because there's a big old jet airliner carrying you far away.
Yes.
Here we are with the song lyrics again. No,
but
if you want to talk
thankfully, my wife encouraged me to get first class seats. So yeah.
Does that come with a back rub?
Oh, I don't know. It might.
I know you can get a hot top. I know you can get a hot top. All right. Well, anyhow, you can get a hold of the two of us at findingthenarrativepodcast@gmail.com. You can get a hold of me on Facebook. You can get a hold of both of us over on MeWe. And we're still lingering in the G Plus community, though we don't hang there. Enjoy listening.
But I don't.
Tell your friends where to find us. We're on Podbean, iTunes, YouTube, and on Google Play. Yep. And after that, that's it. This is Tony saying, keep rolling them bones.
And this is Chris saying, remember the rule of cool and just have fun, everybody. Good night.
See ya.
Finding the Narrative Podcast is not affiliated with or endorsed by any companies mentioned on this show. Any of the products mentioned on our show or appear on our website are the property and copyright of their respected owners. All items are used under fair use and educational and review purposes. All other items are the intellectual property of Finding the Narrative Podcast. Copyright 2018, all rights reserved.